Florida Congressman Greg Steube. He is a member of the House Judiciary and Foreign Affairs committees. Congressman, great to have you with us.
Yeah, good to see you.
All right, well, I think, Bianca, you just saw a tweet there from Ted Cruz, right, regarding with Beach, Delaware. I don't know if you've seen this story or not. There are reports that a plane might be going to Rehoboth Beach, Delaware next. Just real quickly, before we get on to the next part of this interview, Congressman, what is your take on all this and where things stand now? I mean, Republicans, including Florida Governor Ron DeSantis and Greg Abbott, they have Democrats talking about this issue, finally.
Well, finally, he's literally putting this issue on the doorstep of Democrats that claim these sanctuary policies, and they're all flipping out. It took 48 hours for them to get the migrants that were placed in Martha's Vineyard out of Martha's Vineyard and to a military base, armed National Guard taking these individuals. And this is just a small taste of what Texas and our border states are seeing every single day. And these asylum seekers, when they're ordered to go back by a judge that their case is not legitimate and they're ordered to be deported, this administration is not deporting them. So they're violating federal law on the border intentionally and deliberately. And this is going to be on the ballot in November. And the American people stand for crime, or stand against crime. They stand against these border policies and will show up for Republicans because of these policies and the impact that it's having in our country today.
We wanted to get your reaction to this sheriff down in Bexar County, Texas, saying that he's opening a criminal investigation into the 48 migrants that were flown from Texas, apparently to Florida, and then on to Martha's Vineyard as part of Governor DeSantis' airlift. Here is that sheriff.
They were taken to Martha's Vineyard from what we can gather for little more than a photo op, video op, and then they were unceremoniously stranded in Martha's Vineyard. Here we have 48 people that are already on hard times, right? They are here legally in our country at that point. They have every right to be where they are, and I believe that they were preyed upon. So
here is a sheriff, a elected law enforcement official, saying that these people have a right to be here. They're here illegally.
Yeah, they're not legally present in our country, so that assertion is completely and utterly false. And during the Trump administration, obviously with the Remain in Mexico policy, they wouldn't be allowed to even stay here, and they were forced back to where they came from, which should be the policy today. The federal law is being broken every single day on our border, and when the Republicans take the majority back, we are going to hold accountable the administration and these officials who have allowed for the laws that Congress have passed for the safety and security of our nation to be upheld. They're violating it every single day. So if he wants to open an investigation, he should open up an investigation on how the federal government is violating the law every single day in his border town.
Exactly. And, you know, this is a real demonstration, I think, Congressman, of how radical the Democratic Party has become. I mean, we wanted to look back historically. This was former President Bill Clinton who recognized the border crisis, committed to doing more, recognized the need for law and order. This is part of what he said back in 1995 at his State of the Union address.
We are a nation of immigrants, but we are also a nation of laws. It is wrong and ultimately self-defeating for a nation of immigrants to permit the kind of abuse of our immigration laws we have seen in recent years, and we must do more to stop it.
So level with us and our viewers, what do you think the goal of the Democratic Party is today when it comes to immigrants? Why are they allowing our border to be invaded?
Look no further than H.R. 1 in the House and S1 in the Senate. It would allow for any person that is present in our country to vote. They have tried to shove through this huge voting federalism of our voting system. This is the goal. They don't care about the safety and security of the American people. They don't care that the #1 cause of death is fentanyl overdoses, and that's coming across the border. They care about power, and they know if they can let 4 million illegals and more into our country and then pass H.R. 1 and S1, their #1 bills in both chambers, to allow these individuals to vote, they will likely vote for them, and that's exactly what this is all about. It's 100% political, and the American people can see right through it.
Congressman, we also want to ask you about a couple investigations I know that Republicans want to get into. Should they take back the House? One of your colleagues, Adam Kinzinger, he was on David Axelrod's podcast, and they were talking about what will happen if Republicans do take back over the Senate. He says every week Republicans will start some sort of investigation, and he calls any Republican who wants to, I don't know, say take a look at Joe and Hunter Biden's foreign business deals crazies for wanting to do so. Wanted to get your reaction to that.
Well, thankfully, Adam Kinzinger won't be in Congress come January because he knew he wouldn't win his reelection bid, so he decided not to run for reelection. We are absolutely going to investigate the atrocities that are occurring in our country. Exhibit 1 will be the immigration atrocities and the border policies of this administration that they are willfully and deliberately violating on our border right now, and hold these individuals accountable. It's clearly impeachable conduct, and the Judiciary Committee and myself and Jim Jordan are committed to doing that when we take the majority back. So if Adam Kinzinger doesn't like it, then I guess he'll be a civilian and be able to make his voice be heard. But the American people stand behind the laws of our country. And could you imagine if a Republican said what Bill Clinton said in your clip? We would be termed racist and xenophobic and all these other names they would call us. And not too long ago, Democrats stood for a strong border security because it's about nation security.
Well, it's true they would get called all those names, but if they were running for office, say, in the Rio Grande Valley or any of these places where the folks have been dealing with this for a long period of time, they would probably win their elections. At least that's what we're seeing in the trend lines. Also wanted to talk to you today about what the House Oversight Committee is doing. They're scheduled to hold a vote on a resolution brought forth by James Comer, the ranking member of that committee. Senators are going to, or they sent a letter to AG Merrick Garland demanding a special counsel to investigate Hunter Biden. Do you support that, a special counsel to investigate Hunter Biden?
Yes, 100%. That absolutely needs to occur. It separates it from the Attorney General and doesn't allow the influence of the Attorney General's office or the FBI, which we have already seen agents getting fired because they're holding up the process and the politicization of that department. We've seen it in that investigation. We saw it in Russia collusion hoax. We've seen it in the Trump investigations. We've seen a weaponized DOJ and FBI. And not only will we call for a special counsel, if we take the majority back in November and get the gavels in January, we will do our own investigations and bring that information before the American people.
So Congressman Comer, too, he's trying to force a vote on this, to get Democrats basically on the record. You know, they want to open up the books and see some of the business transactions. If Democrats are so eager to take a look at Donald Trump's tax returns, isn't this fair game?
It absolutely should be, but this is all about politics up here, and unfortunately we don't have the majority, and I'm sure his resolution isn't going to pass today because Democrats are going to vote against it, or they'll just do a procedural move and move to table. That's what they like to do in the Judiciary Committee, so their Democratic members don't actually have to vote against it and be on the record on that issue.
You know, and Congressman, we also don't have a media that is asking any of these serious questions. We saw this 60 Minutes piece here with Biden and Scott Pelley, and he was asked, about his son Hunter. It wasn't a hard-hitting question, but, you know, we wouldn't be surprised of this answer. Let's play how he responded when he was asked about Hunter's business dealings.
I love my son, number one. He fought an addiction problem. He overcame it. He wrote about it. And no, there's not a single thing that I've observed at all that would affect me or the United States relative to my son Hunter.
I mean, of course, he's not the big guy, right? I mean, he would never admit to that, fess up. But here we have a situation where, at least as a journalist, you're in front of President Biden. He's answering some of these questions. They're not even pushing for this. It seems like there is not only a possible, interference and cover up when it comes to the feds, but also the media could be complicit.
Yeah, it's the real collusion here is the mainstream media who colludes and conspires with the Democrats to not talk about things that are damaging to them and then talk about things that are talking points for the Democrats. And the social media companies, which will also be held accountable if we take the majority back, are doing the exact same thing. There's polls now, 78% of people believe that Trump would have won had the Hunter Biden laptop story been made public and not been censored on these social media platforms. They will do anything they can do to perpetuate the Democratic talking points and push down our talking points. That's why it's so important to have outlets like yourself and others getting the real message and the real facts and the real news out to the American people.
Good to have you with us, Congressman Greg Steube from Florida. We appreciate it.
Good to see you.
Thank you.
No crooked establishment.
None of that twisting the
truth.
No talking down to me.
Don't tell me how to think.
Don't tell me how to think.
Don't tell me how to think.
I trust Newsmax.
Newsmax.
They don't tell me how to think.
They let me decide.
Newsmax.
Real news
For real people.